This is the 8-9 Combo.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones. This is the second test post-mortem of the 2025 British and Irish Lions Tour of Australia, in which the Lions have found a series winner in the 81st minute to down the Wallabies 29-26. And I don't know about you, mate, but I'm gutted here. I'm feeling very similar to how I did in 2015, 2003 after World Cup final losses. It's just so deflating. It really is.
Start a podcast, they said. It'll be fun, they said. You and I have gone through some of the most painful Australian rugby moments I think that have ever existed in these, 2.5 years. And this one had a little bit of that memory. But I would say it wasn't all doom and gloom, because there was parts of this game that were probably some of the most, the finest, most exhilarating, redemptive moments, where, because I didn't really give the Wallabies much of a chance in this game, and they just took it to the Lions. 90,000 people, the center of the rugby universe. I know the loss, but still, it's important not to lose sight of the fact that this was nothing like Lyon against Wales. This was an occasion where it was ding-dong battle to the death, and all neutrals and people like me that are supremely Wallabies biased neutrals could not take my eyes off 1 second. Didn't want to go to the loo, didn't want to get a drink. I just wanted, I was glued to the contest.
It was an absolutely good contest. No question about that.
A real classic. They say instant classic. This was a classic. You'd watch it again, and you'd watch it again.
It really was. We'll rip into the second test edition of the weekend post-mortem, the Lion Series post-mortem, whatever we're calling it, and we'll jump into the key moments, the same questions that we ask after a test match that we dissect each week. But before that, mate, just tell them to subscribe again. Can't even get the whole thing now.
Well,
I had a thing down say, tell them why subscribing will help improve their posture. And here I am, I'm sitting here slumped at this desk. I can't pull it off.
I'm going to stick on this theme for a while, maybe 3 or 4 episodes, which is we are the antidote, the exact opposite of artificial intelligence. Aren't you sick of, the rise of the bots and taking over? This is real. It's raw. It's unscripted. We have always told it like it is, and we are not ever going to sort of become fanboys or slant our views. This is where you get real, gritty post-mortems. I mean, we're going to tell you the cause of death, where the bullet entered, and how it came out. We are the rugby coroners.
Well, that's fantastic. Red subscribe button down there in the corner on the pod platforms.
Subscribe to post-mortems everywhere.
Do everything that you need to subscribe. I don't know. I've got to try and get through this. I'm really going to battle here.
It's the belief that kills you. You started believing. You must have started believing.
I know. Second test of the Lions series at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. The Lions 29 have beaten the Wallabies 26 in front of 90,307 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, an all-time Australia Lions record crowd. Just an incredible occasion. I actually made my way over to the ground maybe a little bit early, but the crowd just grew and grew and grew and grew from the outset, and it was just it's just been quite an incredible night here at the MCG. I watched a lot of heartbreaking Wallabies losses. To use the cliche, this one's going to be up there.
This was the best heartbreak.
This was the worst result I've ever seen. So we brought back the 5-word headline for a test match post-mortem last weekend, where once again the winning headline becomes the pod title. So what have you got for me? And I'm going to preface mine already by saying I'm not going to use 5 words.
Okay, I got 5. MCG rebirth, greatest Wallabies loss. Those are both questions.
Oh, I see what you're doing. see what you've done there.
The greatest loss.
Greatest Wallabies loss. That's not a bad shout. Yeah, that's not a bad shout. It's a little bit more uplifting than mine, which is just absolute Wallabies heartbreak.
I thought you were going to say poo. Double poo. Boo.
I haven't used the fourth and fifth word, so poo.
There you go. That was a bunch of poo-poo. One person I really, and I know we're going to go in order and reconstruct this. There's so much to talk about, but Harry Wilson's face and voice at the end, if you want to talk about heartbreak, the man couldn't even talk. And they said, what about that final play? And he said, I'm not really able to talk about that right now. Just not ready, because I probably will say something very bad.
That's probably a good shout.
The pride that you saw on a losing captain's face told you a story. But he was oozing pride, didn't believe that they should have lost, brought them back from the brink. And I think, he said something in that comment, in that interview, where he said everyone wrote us off. And I mean, there was a palpable feeling, I guess, by the Wallabies that, it had been too much. People had put the boot in them too much when they were down. And this was their response. And for about, what do you think, 75 minutes, it looked like, wow.
76 and a half. Yeah. I mean, So you kick off the 1 minute summary. I've got lots of images here. Go where you want. I'll just start dropping in overlay images while you
I'm really mindful of not having all doom and gloom, because again, as a supremely biased neutral in favor of Australia, I still found so much to like. One thing is the MCG itself was a star, and the G showed up really well. One thing that's funny is the fans behind the posts, I think, were closer to the action than if you were on the 50. So it was the revenge.
Yes, that is absolutely
true. It was the revenge of the guys with the cheap seats. Is for once you had a better view. That was great.
Revenge of the cheap seats.
This was interesting. The first half, I posted this so everyone can see it on my socials. But if you're not on my socials, the Wallabies built three times as many rucks as the Lions. They threw 2 times as many passes. They ran 100 more meters post contact than the Lions. Had 5 times the line breaks. Forced 2 times the tackles, and created 7 turnovers. They had 63% of the ball, and they only led by 6. And there was a sort of prescient comment I made to, I think it was Hugh Griffin. I said, I think the Wallabies just lost the match. And it was when the Lions scored that late try in the first half. And then by that I meant, because everyone had fixed the problem with the first test the opposite way, I always knew the Lions would finish stronger. They had to. They're just the laws of physics and caps and all that is known. And so you had said, Wallabies got to be up by 10, I think. And all these things kind of came together in my brain. I go, I think this is, I think they really had to not let that try in. I just worried from that point on. Yeah.
The two late tries in the first half, Curry's try, Hugh Jones's try, they were real heartbreakers.
That's a coach killer, right? That's
yes,
a coach killer,
absolutely.
Because
if they go into the 23-5, if they go into the sheds at 23-10, rather than 23-17, the start of the second half just looks different, and just it's that late half fade out that's unfortunately been it's not a Joe Schmidt thing. This has been something with this playing group for 3 coaches now. It's a real concern, and there was never a comfortable feeling. And that was on top of when Tommy Freeman was off with his yellow card. The Wallabies had 90% possession in that 10 minutes and scored twice while he was off. So
right. So to me, that was crucial. So I divided the first half into 2 blocks, and I just literally was strict with myself and said, what do I got to do to beat these Lions in the first 20? It wasn't just Bobby Valentini running over the game line. It was not that. Joe had created a better system to show up more Alatoa. They put Morrow in tough spaces. They started winning the referee over. They got a lot of tight calls, I must say, to Wallaby fans. And they built this lead. Then they let Sheehan in, and you could see almost Joe going, no. They don't let them back in. Then you get that next sort of chucker of 20-40. Again, it was beautiful rugby. 18-5, 23-5, box kicks, a 17 phase move finished off by Jiliki.
Which was a really good try. Maybe a hint of referee obstruction. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
On the inside.
So it builds again, and you're at 35 minutes. There's a scrum from which the Lions launch, and ultimately there's a Curry try. And that was that moment where you're 35 minutes, you're up 23-5.
Yeah.
You got an 18-point lead. You're literally like the Lions were in the first test.
It was we had that exact conversation here in the media box. It was 24-5 in after 42 minutes last week.
Kick the fucking ball and get territory. Do not love possession as much. Just get territory, camp down, soak up some minutes, play slow. Someone go down with a fake injury, something, but don't let the Lions play.
Because they've done so well to get there. When James Slipper scored his first try, I think I've worked out since maybe October 2022 against Scotland, and then Tom Wright finished off that fantastic try that comes from a little Suaalii left foot step, and so you talk about different systems. What I did notice about that they were, I think I said a couple of times during the week, they've just got to work out better ways of getting the ball to Suaalii when he can do something with it, and they were playing to Suaalii well before the game line. And so they were letting him get through with his physicality and his footwork and his offload and all that. And they were letting Suaalii, the footballer, shine rather.
That was the change they made. It was good.
Yeah, that was the tweak. And so that was working so well. But then they even kicked the penalty early on in the second half. When was that? That Liner kicked that 53rd minute. Okay, so that's 26-17. Burn scores, brings it back, and then toward the end, at one point there toward the end, Jake Gordon was sort of motioning to. They were outside their own 22, but they were well short of halfway, and Jake Gordon saying, come on, like he's running organised pick and drive basically. It's still 3.5 minutes. You cannot do this for 3.5 minutes. And
I did. That's where I thought the cap gap mattered. So returning to the halftime, I thought, so who's making what adjustments where? The Wallabies decided they had to bring on their subs really early. I'm talking right away, right?
Yes. Well, they replaced both props, Valentini and Skelton, at halftime, as far as I can. Oh, maybe Williams came on for Skelton in the 44th or 5th, but both props and Valentini were both off at halftime.
Yeah, and coming from a country which is currently, and maybe for a long time now, renowned for making good substitution choices and timing, South Africa, I thought, no, do not do that, because it's counterintuitive. You get your 6-2 for the first time in eons, and you think you have to do this. You don't have to do this. Some of the guys who were taken off were doing well in the scrum, for example. And the scrum started to crumble, and it was their way in. It was, yes, there were some resets, and the referee probably didn't give the Lions enough pay at the scrum, but it was ominous because it was the way into the game where you stop the clock and you still get advantage, and you get to pin people down in 5 meters, even if they repel them. So I think that was the first thing. Second thing, there was this, sort of sense of next one who scores wins. And I was thinking, no, that's not true either. The Lions were never going to score less than about 27 to 31-ish points. Yeah. And so the problem wasn't so much that the Wallabies didn't score enough for the first half. They scored more than you would think. It's that they sort of put the game to bed and sort of said, now we don't have to do much. And this allowed
and that was the mistake.
The Lions to time their subs. So they brought their subs in right around 60 minutes.
I was going to say about 55, 60 minutes they started bringing in. They replaced a few props early. I think Genge was on early for Porter.
Right.
But yes, they did wait. And look, some of the changes, like Gleeson was excellent when he came on. Bell didn't get much of a chance. Pollard didn't get much of a chance. Robertson was under a bit of trouble, but Gleeson was excellent. McDermott ends up having to play 70 minutes on the wing.
Did fine. Yeah.
Did fine. Did a job.
Yeah.
Ben Donaldson went unused.
Yeah,
6-2 bench. Ben Donaldson went unused. Alex Mitchell went unused for the Lions as well, thus breaking his.
We always
his
hate that,
playing
by the way.
every game.
when box goes 7-1 or 6-2 and you don't use your utility back, something was very wrong. Either the utility back wasn't as good as you actually pretending he was, or you just miscalculated, because there's no reason for that. You bring on your first sub so early and then you unuse. It's like, then why didn't it go 7-1 then?
Interesting conversation I had beforehand, going, you're in 6-2. Why wouldn't you go to the specialist guy who's been playing 14 minutes all year, James O'Connor?
Yeah, exactly. A proven closer. So to me, the moment at 53 minutes, he bangs over, Tom Liner bangs over the 26-7 after Finn Russell has kicked out on the full. And it's sort of this feeling of, ooh, are the Lions in trouble? Maybe their cap's not going to pay off. But from 53 minutes to 80 plus minutes, the cap.
Remind me to come back about Russell. Keep going. Sorry.
The cap did pay off because there was a feeling of calm. And as 53 minutes became 54, 55, a line out in the Wallaby half, the Lions built a multi-phase attack, pick and goes. Freeman was picking and goes through the ruck. Bundy Aki was especially a prominent line break. And then Tyburn takes 3 Wallabies into the try line and scores with them on them, wearing them. And it suddenly is 26-24. There was a moment of panic, because from 53 minutes to 60 minutes, you thought, how can it change that drastically? And then you have this 20-minute final stanza where I just never believed the Wallabies were going to score very much, if at all. And
they never looked like scoring points. You're right.
And that's where I wondered about the use of the bench, the personnel on the bench, the timing of it. Was everyone just hanging on? Was Tom Liner sort of on his last gasp of breath? I don't know, but it was very difficult for him to run an offense and attack system. Mara Toje started becoming more prominent. All the big stars kind of stepped up at that point from the Lions, except, I just thought, well, maybe there's one more attack. Tom Wright found Max Jorgensen up the right side, I think. Yeah. Great attack, a little kick through. Hugh was at 6s and 7s, and they had that line out there, but nothing seemed to materialize from any of those forays. Yeah. And then you had Will Stewart, getting pinged for a roll. And then you thought, this might work out. Maybe that was the call that the referee made, that I thought, at 74 minutes, maybe that's it. But
what part of the field was that on, though? It was still in the Wallabies half, wasn't it?
Is red zone. He was just wanting an extra meter or two, and it was in a really good spot. And it felt like if you just...
was in the Lions 22?
No, in the Wallabies.
Oh, right.
Will Stewart had made a really nice run. He made another nice run, actually, that he shed a tackler and made up for it. But 74 minutes, Lions go into the 22. There's a scrum, and a knockout on a scrum, and the Wallabies survive. So now it's 26-24 with 3 minutes to go, a line out on 50, and everyone in the stadium knew this is it. Whatever happens the next 3 minutes, and I would imagine the viewership around the world spiked, because you just go, ooh. I don't know what's going to happen. And then what happened.
That guy there, Hugo Keenan. And it's
much maligned Hugo Keenan.
Yeah. And look, he'd had, to that point, I would say that he hadn't had the smoothest night.
No, he got caught in possession several times. He missed an offload.
Yeah. A few little errors here and there. And then there was a whole argument on the field and back and forward as to whether there was head contact on Carlo Tizzano back at the ruck. There might have been, but I think it's hit back of shoulder and maybe neck. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I really want the Wallabies to win. Wanted them to win, but I didn't think that was anything at all. I literally think that if it wasn't a try-scoring moment and it was just normal play, we wouldn't have even returned to it, because it was a shoulder battle.
And it was hard to tell from
extremely low, and they both arrived at the point of the shoulder battle at the same time, which is actually crucial, because you do get head clashes all the time in rucks when you're both hitting the same available space.
Yeah. It was hard to tell in the media box, because we had no commentary, couldn't really hear the explanations out in the field either.
Zana was not a ball carrier, and he was not already latched onto the ball. He was coming for the ball.
He was coming in for it. Yes,
and Jack Morgan was coming
just
for that cleaning space.
It felt like the TMO tried to get involved, but Andre Piatti, who I actually thought had a really, really good game, he seemed to step in and say, no, I'll tell you what we're seeing. That's not head contact. There's no foul play. Try stance.
I think he was internally consistent with his ruling.
Cue
So
pandemonium.
you might not have liked everything that Andrea refed, but he was pretty consistent on how he thought the ruck should look.
Yeah.
So that jubilation was obviously gutting for all Wallaby fans. You saw Harry Wilson try to sort of extend the match as long as he could by being by the ref.
Like technicalities,
And then the other refs were coming over and actually saying to Harry, "No, you have to get away now because we have to have clean space to make a decision." I felt like it would have been obviously
I'll say at that point, Maro tried to step in and was trying to be a bit of a dick, right, pointing at the scoreboard and things like. I mean, come on.
All match long, Mara was extremely animated. Will Skelton, as a former Saracens teammate, really did his job to get under his skin. So we saw the old Maro come back. Well, not the cool, Zen, yoga breathing Maro. This was old school Maro, who was absolutely out for blood. Okay.
Yeah.
But on comms, from what I was getting, I think the stand feed. Both captains were really in the ref's ears. As a non-experienced ref in the biggest match of their lives, it was almost, you knew they were going to do that, and so there was a back and forth. That final episode that'll be much picked at by Australian fans. You could just tell. It was almost like I was in a court one time when I knew my client that I was doing a favor for. I wasn't even a criminal lawyer. We'd go to jail the second I stopped talking. I just kept talking forever until the ref finally said, "Are you done?" And I kept saying some more because I knew the minute I stopped talking, the game was over. And Harry Wilson was like, "As long as I suspend this moment, as long as I can."
Yeah, it's not full time. Yeah. There might be a ruling. They might find a quick, keep rolling the tape. There might be a knock on there somewhere.
Just keep GMOing, man. Maybe we'll find something.
It had that feeling about it. Yeah. I mentioned Finn Russell there before. Lee Calvert, and I was keeping track of Lee's Guardian blog. Not keeping track. I was just sort of going back to it as a reference point through the game.
Stuff.
But he mentioned to us last week that Finn Russell is one of the great shruggers of the world, and twice we saw it tonight. He fires that pass into touch, and he sort of just turned around and went, and then he kicked the ball out of the full, and he said.
There was a bit of a vintage, let's go back to our roots. I said Maro comes back to being bad Maro. I feel like Tizano, has lived in a world in which he always goes for the pilfer. And sometimes these big matches, it's the things you don't do that are important. Just don't go for it. Just see what happens. Finn was back to old Finn. And then there was these flashes of Tom Wright, being irrepressible. And I thought, I said, Tom Wright, as many moments as you can get from Tom Wright that are off-scripted, weird, nonsensical, that's what Australia needs. And then it happened.
He's
and
a
then
different footballer when he does it.
Stopped happening for 30 minutes. So a reverse of the first test where the Lions won with 45 minutes of good rugby, and the Wallabies had about 30 minutes of good rugby. This time it was flipped around, but it wasn't quite enough because the Lions always had a little bit more on the field. They just had a few more caps.
The cap gap was definitely real. We usually ask, what worked well for the winners or what didn't work so well for the losers. I don't really think that matters now, and I don't think it really matters what the Lions learned, because they learned that they could just do enough to win a game and therefore a series. So I'll keep one question out of that little set of four that we usually ask. What did the Wallabies learn about themselves tonight?
I think the Wallabies, in the fullness of time and longer term, will get more out of this than the Lions. Lions were supposed to win, should have won. It would have been the biggest choke in their history to lose this series because of the cap gap. Like I put out 206 caps at the playmaker position versus 20. I mean, you should win that, right? As long as your pack is good enough, and the Lions pack was really good. So the Wallabies learned in the second test how to play against an opposition that has more than you, should win, and they dug into 2011 roots, World Cup quarterfinal against the Springboks. You can negate a lot, and then negated all night long, and then took their chances just enough.
Similar, 2015, the quarterfinal against Scotland, the game against Wales as well. They had to really dig deep in games they maybe weren't entitled to win, and they found ways of doing it.
Yeah, it's like
and that got them through a final.
Yeah, you don't know what the pain's supposed to feel like, and so it feels like you're going to die, and you stop, and you don't finish your marathon. And then you finish the marathon, you realize, that 17, 18-mile death, feeling is not the end. I felt like the Wallabies found their limits, and they will go back and rue. And I don't think the smartest ones will rue, the final call by the ref. They'll rue that period of time from 32 minutes to 40. And then they'll probably look back at the beginnings of the second half and say, could we have ate up more time, played the game a little more smarter? But I think it's that middle of the game that they will go back in time and say, oof.
Yeah, you're right.
The what ifs will be more about what they did and didn't do, not someone else.
Yeah, I've just been the ground is now very much in pack up mode. There's a big healthy staff out there. All the bench area is gone. They'll literally start pulling up the white sheets of plastic off the grass. But there's a pocket of fans over in that far corner over there. They're still making a bit of racket, and I think I can tell that the Sky Sport UK commentary team is still doing. They've still got lights on and everything, so they must be still going in their broadcast. So they're the small little bit of crowd that's left is still making a hell of a lot of noise. So good.
They'll be very happy, and
they will. The pubs will be absolutely packing tonight. So
it's a long time since they won a series. So this is actually incredibly important for the Lions brand and
since
for
2013, funnily enough,
and for the continuation of the Lions concept at all, because people who scoff at that shouldn't scoff at that. There's forces that would say this is a really huge imposition. Yes, the Lions were making 100,000 quid each, but not everyone was making that, and it's a tremendous interruption. So they kind of I think Andy Farrell didn't come to make friends in Australia. He came to win.
He came to win a series. Yeah, that's right. And look, it's been, for all the talk about do the Lions keep going to Australia, as Jim Tucker said this week, the Lions don't mind winning series. If they can go to Australia and win a series, they'll keep going, particularly when they keep raking in record amounts of revenue like they have on this.
The quality of the stadium as well. I mean, who's got a 90,000 person, modern stadium like that?
The noise out here tonight is on par with what I've experienced on Boxing Day of an Ashes Test. The noise was just absolutely incredible. So next Saturday is obviously the third test, the final match of the series in Sydney at a core stadium, the Olympic Stadium out at Homebush in the West. So what does this next week look like now?
It's very interesting, isn't it?
It is, because I think the Lions are in sort of doesn't really matter now.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wonder whether suddenly the job's done. I wonder whether Farrell plays 10. I wonder whether Mitchell starts. I wonder whether, Genge starts, whether Stewart starts. I wonder if this is Farrell's chance to say to the guys that have played off the bench through the tests, some guys who maybe have been, 24, 25, 26, 27, the Henry Pollocks, the Ben Earls, the squad. All right, well done. Congratulations. We've got it done. You play this one. I wonder if it actually might be a good number of changes for the Lions. But conversely, I think Joe will say to the Wallabies, righto, you 23, don't let them sweep the series next week. Go out there and finish the job that we started tonight.
Historically, the team that has lost the series in game 2 comes out on game 3 like maniacs. They're fighting for pride, so there'll be no relaxation there. Yeah. They might be out on their feet. Harry Wilson looked like he was out on his feet. And some of the other players like Will Skelton, looked like he was gassed when he came off. Yeah. So I don't know if that's possible to play better. And the line you would think would do that. I don't think. I think Andy really wants a sweep, and he's been very unsentimental about his picks. Some of the things that might happen though were more about what happened in the first test. So Ringrose was supposed to start all 3 tests. We now know that. We know that.
True. Yeah.
Clear information now. He was supposed to play. So those ones he might want to make up for. But then you're not going down, assuming HIA protocols. You're not going down in quality because a Bundyaki, Gary Ringrose midfield is not a step down.
Terrible. No, not at all. Yeah,
Hugh Jones one.
Yeah.
I do think there might be a few marginal, like say Josh van der Flier, like who hasn't got a cap at all. But again, is Josh van der Flier a step down from Tom Curry? Not much of one. So,
Curry, I don't think had a happy time of it tonight.
The rest said no. The rest said no. We're not going to do that.
He was nullified pretty well.
Yeah.
And I suppose by the same token, which is what you're saying, Fraser McWright won one or two maybe.
The ref said,
I don't want had an impact straight away, but
the ref said no. We're not doing pilfer. We're doing. I will reward attacking teams. You will get 14 phases. You might get 17 phases. So it lent itself to a very low kicking. It was very low. 9 kicks each in the first. That's crazy compared to the average in 2025. Joseph Kususoili, I did think they found a use for him on attack. He's not a good defensive 13, guys. He's not ready for that. They rounded him and got inside him and outside him with ease all night long. And that was true in the first test too.
Yeah, that's probably true.
He needs more time in the saddle at Waratah's level at 13, which he didn't get, or they need to find a different place for him to just use his attacking prowess without the downside of his incredible lack of instincts on how
I don't want to go down that route though, because then we go to this silly thing with what the Waratahs did this year, where he sort of plays fullback, but not really, but then attacks from 13, but kind of.
It was too easy to find holes around him.
I think that, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I don't want to see a stupid roundabout fluffy solution just to fit him in.
No, I don't. I agree. There's no reason you should have people running like
not when Tom Wright played the way he did tonight. No.
There was a moment in the Dave Rennie era where I remember people were running, from one end to the other, like harem scarum, carousel. That was terrible. But that's just my comment on someone who's so good at one part of the game and is not good at the other in that particular spot. And I think they gave the Lions too much comfort. They always knew they could go there and get around.
Yeah, that's really fair. I think that is the second test post-mortem done, mate. I've got through this a lot further than I thought I have. I thought I might have bunked out after 10 minutes.
I thought Rugby Union had a great night in Australia tonight. I thought that Melbourne, obviously Melbourne is the center of the rugby universe tonight. That's maybe a little bit overstating it because it was the only real game, but it held its place. It was majestic, and
it was.
It created a moment that league can only dream about and can never really achieve. It was a good night for that. Yeah. For the dumbheads that want to say a loss is a loss is a loss, no, that was a great loss. No, that loss said a lot about
maybe the greatest loss, as you say. Yeah, maybe. That then is the second test post-mortem behind us. Make sure you subscribe to the 8-9 on YouTube so you don't miss the latest 8-9 tap and go. It'll probably be out in the next few days. Tell us what you think by following Harry and I on the socials in our usual places. Find the 8-9 combo on the socials as well, and you can have your say right here in the YouTube comments section. You can leave a comment on Spotify as well. We'd love to hear from you either way. We love shares, we love ratings, we love reviews, so leave all that wherever you can. This is the 8-9 combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. I'm Brett McKay, he's Harry Jones, and we will be back in your ears in a few days' time for another great rugby chat.
Come cry with us.
Here goes Jones with another bruising run. He links up with McKay, who pops back to Jones. They can't. They won't. They will. What a try. The Dream Team combo go in again.